I want to play a game, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Millionth Show. My name is James, joined once again by Henry, and we are finishing our Saw series because today we are reviewing Spiral from the Book of Saw. Now, Henry, you've never seen this one, so
Yeah.
what's your initial reactions?
Well, I'm glad it came in this order rather than Jigsaw coming after this. Um, it's strange, really, because while this was definitely significantly better than Jigsaw, I kind of felt in the same way. I wasn't really watching a Saw film in a lot of the ways, but I think this film kind of shows that there is you can use elements from Saw, and there's more that can be done with it, really. One of the things I actually liked a lot about it that really surprised me is they clearly put a lot of thought into these traps, having seen
Hmm.
9 films now, well, 8 before this. Like you would have thought there'd be like nothing left you could possibly do, and they're all like relevant to they kind of fit the crime, so to say. Not that they're fair
Hmm.
as some of them certainly aren't, but um, visually speaking, with the camera work and everything, and the lighting as well in this, I thought was really good.
Yeah.
Um, and the acting is you know, gone quite a far away from Ryan in the last one.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you actually. I was because of last week's episode, because of Jigsaw, I was
Mm.
very worried going into this film that because with Jigsaw, I remembered it being okay, like similar level to this. I was like, okay, it's not your typical Saw film, but it's all right.
Yeah,
So then I rewatched Jigsaw and I was like, nah, this is shit, you know. And I was hoping I wouldn't have this experience with Spiral because I'd seen this before. I think earlier this year for the first time. This only came out last year, to be fair.
yeah.
And I was really kind of worried. I was like, nah, mate, what if I don't enjoy it again? But actually, I think this is a really entertaining film. And while it's not like your archetype Saw film, like you say, it does pay homage to some good elements. And what it does, it does exactly what Jigsaw should have done. Maybe Jigsaw's just kind of was just growing pains or something like that, where it's just like that transitional period between your typical Saw film and then a different kind of Saw film which doesn't have Tobin Bell, which doesn't have Jigsaw or
Mm.
Billy the Puppet, any of those like signature things, but it still has like the inspiration. This is more like what I was saying last week about Human Centipede 2 is
Yeah.
more like that. It's like a Saw inspired film. I mean, literally from the book of Saw, so it kind of has that balance, you know.
Yeah, what does that actually? I didn't know if I could glean anything from it. From the Book of Saw, is this like a source material or something?
No, it's just like basically inspiration from Saw, and a lot of I mean Chris Rock's involvement in this is obviously very it's even more prominent than you might realize, Henry, because not only was he the main actor for this, but he also co-wrote this film and was an executive producer for it.
Hmm.
So he's apparently like a huge fan of the Saw films, the Saw franchise, man of culture, obviously,
Yeah.
and he pitched Lionsgate, you know, to sort of do this thing, and they were so impressed, they were like, yeah, okay, we're going to let you basically have a lot of
Creative
creative control
freedom.
over this,
Yeah.
which is cool. And they brought back Darren Boosman. He
Yeah,
came
I
back.
know. I saw that, and
Yeah.
I think that was a very good call actually because someone. I mean, assuming Chris Rock is also quite passionate about this.
Hmm.
And for someone who's been a fan, supposedly, I assume, since the original. Um, there definitely been a lot of ideas that must have come out through this film, and I think that must have injected a lot of the sort of like freshness in it. I feel because
Mm.
I was definitely there was no point in this film where I was like kind of rolling my eyes or even bored
Oh,
with the last one.
wow. There were a couple of lines I think that
Well, yeah, I
weren't
know, but I
necessary.
mean, as in
What you talking
like
about,
plot
Willis?
wise, I'm like they're like cracking jokes like quite a bit during
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
I mean, that's Chris Rock's thing, the comedy and all that. But
Mm.
I still think, I mean, it's a huge step up. Well, from it's anywhere you can step up from a pit, but still.
Yeah, true. This is the thing because when you consider just on the face of it, on paper, all the elements about this film. This is what I can't remember why I didn't watch this when it first came out, because I know this is a COVID sort of release, so
Yeah.
that was a problem. This is why, I mean, obviously, like I say, it was released in 2021, last summer. Runtime of 1 hour 33 minutes, budget of 20 million, and a box office of, guess,
I don't know. It's COVID. Like, I don't know,
yeah,
50 million.
40. So didn't do very well. I mean, not when you consider, how previous Saw films performed. I mean, to be fair, for a COVID film to kind of double budget and then
Yeah, but then there's
double
also the
that.
advertising costs, if you remember, which is
Yeah, yeah,
like
true, true. But still, I
about
think
the same.
that's for a COVID film, it's kind of, at least it wasn't a loss, sort of thing.
Mhm.
And anyway, when you consider that, okay, not only is it coming off the back of Jigsaw, which was poor, not financially, but you know, as a fan, it was very disappointing. Um, you've got a film which on paper, like Chris
Mm.
Rock's got his hands all over it. You think,
Yeah,
I
it
personally
doesn't
thought, I
sound
was
like
like,
a recipe
I
for
wasn't
success.
very inspired by that. I wasn't very much. I wasn't really. I was like, oh, this is probably going to be shit. That was my kind of attitude going into it. And then I was really pleasantly surprised with how good a performance he gave.
Mm.
And you can obviously see Boosman's impact in this film as well, his influence, and I think they just did a really good job with this film. It's not like, I mean, we'll go on to rank it at the end, of
Yeah.
course, our final rankings for the Saw films, but I enjoyed this film actually quite a lot, and this film was a pleasant surprise for me.
Mm. Yeah, it's a yeah. This is all right to end the Saw sort of like saga at the moment until Saw X comes out, but still, I'm glad it's not going on a downwards trajectory by the at the current year.
Yeah, that's right. And I do want to shout out Chris Rock. I saw a little bit of trivia as well. You know what film inspired him other than the Saw films for this film?
Let me guess. Knowing it's you, is it Seven?
Yeah.
That's the thing.
The
Actually, I could. I
best
sort
film
of.
of all time.
Yeah, this gave me kind of like shades of Seven in a way, but like
Yeah.
if it was lighter, if that makes sense. Like there's quite a bit of like the Chris Rock humor and so on in it. But
Yeah, that's the thing. Chris Rock, I mean, you can tell he had a lot of fun with this film, and there are moments where I'm just like, okay, now he's just sort of being himself, and he's just like getting certain things across. When you see those kind of tweets, they're like, oh, that was oddly specific, you get a
yeah,
couple
that's
of
true.
moments like
That
that
is
with
true. Some
Chris
of the
Rock.
examples, I was like,
There were moments where he's just kind of playing himself. But really, I'm like, because Chris Rock's a guy, obviously he's had his career, and you think, you kind of associate him with, especially with his acting career, more like comedy and stuff,
mm,
Madagascar, all that stuff, you think, that's so, props to him for like, it's a brave decision, especially, and I think it's great that he's a fan of the franchise because, he obviously wanted to do something serious and oh, I want to give you one more thing about Chris Rock. Do you know how old he was in this film?
you're gonna hit me with some like Jared Leto sort of like
Yeah,
Methuselah
yeah,
stuff
I
here.
am. Go on.
Is he like? Oh, let me guess. 42.
He was in his 50s, his early 50s, mate. Yeah,
How, man? He looks like he looks like he's
that's it,
30,
man.
man.
Black don't crack. It's like he's proving it right, man. That's insane. And Samuel Jackson. Do you want to have a guess at how old he is?
God, this
All
guy's
right,
like eight. This guy's like
let me
ageless,
give
man.
you more of a more specific question. So obviously Samuel Jackson plays Chris Rock's dad in this film, right?
Yeah.
What do you think the age gap is between Chris Rock and Samuel Jackson? Now I've told you Chris Rock was 53, I think, for this film.
Hmm. Well, I want to say maybe like 8 years, maybe.
Nah, no. 17 years.
Okay, I was gonna say like you're gonna hit me with something like nuts. I don't know.
No. No, I thought the gap was going to be much bigger than that. But there you go. Fair play to Chris
Hmm.
Rock, man. He's like keeping it fresh. So yeah, I suppose we can get into it then, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we open up with this cop. He's pursuing a purse snatcher. We have
Yeah, during a carnival sort of thing.
yeah, consecutive purse snatchers.
Yeah.
Um, And yeah, during like a festival, like you say, and then this person actually disappears down a hole,
Yeah.
and the cop sort of reluctantly follows him down, and he's like, there's a good fake out because he's like finds this guy in this tunnel, and he's like, put your hands up, and it's just a
Yeah.
mannequin.
Yeah, but I do want to also shout like
Yeah.
the actual tunnel set, like like I don't know what it was. It was just the way the set was built, the way they shot it as well, and
hmm
yeah, they actually use dark lighting, and that's like you'd normally think that's just a given, but not always apparently. Um, I really liked it, just visually speaking.
You know what's funny you say that because this film, one thing that really, the first time I didn't really notice it, but the second time watching it, I really appreciate how good the cinematography is in this film.
Mm.
Like the lighting is crazy. It's not something you expect to
Hmm.
you'd expect from like the ninth Saw film, but
Yeah,
actually
exactly.
the cinematography is beautiful in this film. I had to say, like the some of the lighting, the oranges and the blues
Mm.
that were going on in a lot of scenes,
Yeah,
very
I'm
nicely
I'm
done.
thinking of a particular scene as well where like his dad's like going through some sort of like decrepit basement. There's like one
Mm.
room is red and he's going towards a yellow room, and the lighting is changing throughout that.
Yeah, it's
That
very cool. It's very nice how they did that. Very impressive.
mm.
So anyway, this guy he's in this tunnel. He gets ambushed by a guy in the pig mask. So that's a cool little
Yeah,
nod to
a
the
very
old school.
realistic one. Yeah.
Yep. And then he wakes up in the tongue trap. So this is an interesting one, Henry. We obviously have a new tape with a new voice.
Oh.
So what
Yeah,
did
that's
you
one
think
thing
of
I
that?
can't get over.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I understand, right? Like, so this is like some sort of like digitally altered voice,
hmm
or I don't know, like he's put it through some like electronic thing. I don't know. And I don't know really. Like it kind of like throw. I mean, obviously, it's going to be very different from Tobin Bell's one,
Yeah.
or even Mark Hoffman's scuffed one. But like, I don't know. You have to keep it different, but at the same time, I think this was like a bit too much of a departure. It kind of like pulls you out of the film a bit, and it's like I don't know something about the audio itself doesn't sound like it's actually coming from like the scene itself. Feels like someone just put it in afterwards. Don't know if you get that feeling.
That's interesting. No, I was just quite distracted by how, because I mean they made a conscious effort to make it not sound like Tobin Bell, which is fair enough, but it was a bit jarring. It's just like this kind of monotone, almost like the TikTok narrator sort of voice,
Yeah,
but like a
exactly.
male
That's what
version.
it
It was
was.
like, it was like, this is a bit strange. I remember that really threw me off the first time I watched the film, and then the second time I expected it, so I was like, okay, but the
Yeah.
first time I
Maybe
was like,
it's like yeah,
what
maybe it's
is
like a
this?
thing that I had with like this actually reminds me a bit of like the complete like detachment I had from The Dark Knight Rises when I first heard Bane's voice, and I was like, are
Really?
you like joking? Yeah. And then like I don't know, I assume if I come back to this at some point, I'll have gotten used to it by now or something. But
Probably.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, and this guy's in the pig mask, which I appreciate. I mean, we don't obviously Billy the puppet doesn't come back or anything like that in this film, unfortunately.
Hmm.
But they do just do this cool tribute where he's wearing the pig mask, and that's kind of all you need. They're not like beating you over the head with it, which is cool. So
Hmm.
the trap itself,
Well,
pretty gruesome, I must say. This is like,
mm,
oh, do you know what I really appreciate? This is obviously Bausmer's touch, Boosma. I can't pronounce his surname, but like the actual editing, like the way they chop it up, like the
yeah, they
zooming
maintain
around
that
him and
chopper
stuff. It's
sweat
like
thing.
that's proper Saw. I really feel like
Yeah.
I'm
Like
right
it's
back
like
in it.
the like especially like I think from below there's like it's almost like a choppy pan almost, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So cool.
And it's like
The trap itself,
yeah, simple yet effective.
very grim. You know what? I really didn't expect this, but there are a couple of times in this film, rewatching it, where I was like grossed out a bit.
Hmm.
Watching this is one of the times I was like, oh, it's just like, and even though the tongue looks fake as shit, like I don't
Yeah.
know about you, but it just I know that's a very hard effect to pull off. And even if the guy had his real tongue there, it probably wouldn't look right because you never see. It's such an unnatural
Yeah, it's never
thing to
like that
see.
extended.
Yeah, it was. It's enough to make you go like you kind of you suspend your disbelief, don't you? And you're just
Yeah,
like, oh
basically,
wow,
yeah. Because you think of yourself in his shoes. And the fact that like, to explain it in a nutshell, he's in like some sort of like railway tunnels, like suspended on a box, and also like, yeah, his tongue's like basically attached through, well, with a nail basically through it,
In a vice.
to
Yeah.
into a vice, and yeah, he has to basically jump off the box, use his whole weight to rip the tongue off, and otherwise he'll get run down by a train, and
Yeah.
like. It's not like bad enough that it won't like rip his it wouldn't rip his tongue just like from the actual nail point, because like your tongue goes like further back into like even down your
Yeah.
throat,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
like, oh, like,
Yeah.
like if it rips the entire thing, then
Yeah. It's pretty sick trap, man.
yeah,
And obviously the guy. Well, it's kind of unclear. Does he? He doesn't jump, or he does, but you
yeah,
just it kind of chops up just before the train hits him anyway, right? So
yeah, exactly. It's like, I don't know, like, I mean, like, if you're gonna get like the gore factor in, to spend the budget on something, it's kind of it's kind of a given almost that a lot of them will like simultaneously they'll get out the trap, but they don't have enough time, so you also get to see the
yeah,
trap
yeah,
in
right.
action. So it's like, yeah, like imagine if like everyone used their brains and got out of the trap, then it's like you don't
Yeah,
get to see like any bodies get destroyed or anything.
you do
It's
get a
like,
lingering shot on the tongue itself, though, and that
yeah,
was the moment for me where I was like, "Oh man, that was disgusting," you know.
yeah, but that felt like like at the
That felt
very
real.
very beginning when he's running through the carnival, I was like, don't know about this. But that after leaving the tongue hanging, that's like a proper sort of like saw intro shot.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, we're back.
Yeah, basically.
um, all right. So then we meet Chris Rock, and he's just talking shit about Forrest Gump. This really made me laugh. Have you seen Forrest Gump, Henry?
No, but I know enough about it to
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of
I've
get what
seen
you're
it like a
saying.
few times. I need to rewatch it, but like, just made me laugh, man. You can tell like Chris Rock had just watched it or something. He's like he just was getting the stuff off his chest. There's
Hmm.
no reason. It's just so oddly specific, and they're just talking about it like, oh yeah, X Y Z. You know, like I don't know.
And
It's like okay, and
I
you
don't
got
know.
all
I
like
kind of
gangster
like,
music in the background and stuff, and it's like okay,
yeah.
you just put me in Saw and you've just ripped me right back out. You know, but I mean it was okay, but still, you
I
know,
don't know. I quite like this scene because it's like it's not technically necessary for the plot or anything.
not at all.
Not much really, but it's like it's just a bit of like it's almost like you're seeing them at a point where the plot isn't necessary, so they're just kind of being themselves almost, like it's a bit of characterization, except it's really
Mm,
like 99% Chris Rock, but still.
suppose that's true. Yeah.
And
So
ultimately it's showing how good he is at being an undercover cop.
well, yeah, that's right. So, okay, so they go and do some robbery. Him and three other guys. They've got Now we haven't revealed our next series after Saw yet, but a hint for you, ladies and gentlemen, is suits under overalls, kind of get up
Mm,
that we get here. So they
yeah,
take off the overalls, the jumpsuit, whatever, and they've got suits underneath. Um, and yeah, I mean, they get in the getaway car and it's all like this cool, like gangster stuff, man. And then, like, under this cop's an idiot, man. These police turn up and like ambush him. The guy's like, "Oh, hey, man, how's it going?" Like
yeah,
whatever.
exactly. It's
Like,
just
it's
like, oh,
like,
you're trying to get me lit up in the back of this car.
yeah, like that's like, I don't care who you are. You're the most trained ops will never do that, man. Like what kind of frontline police response unit is like dumb enough to say that?
Well, to be fair, it seems like half the people in,
Well,
in the squad want him dead anyway, so
yeah, the country where this takes place, maybe. Yeah, to be
yeah.
fair. Um, well, anyway, so yeah, his cover gets blown, and then so Chris Rock's back in the police office, and he's like having it back and forth with Angie, the
Yeah, the
boss.
chief of police
Yeah,
or
she's
the
like the
head.
worst actress ever, man. Like
Yeah.
just like so much overacting. It's
It,
painful, man.
I don't know what it was. It's like this doesn't feel like, a chief of police like talking to an underling, but like it's
It's
like
not
they're having like,
convincing at all,
like
man.
some sort of like marital argument or something in like a sitcom or something.
Yeah, yeah. He's
It's
just like
like,
all this like oh, like, oh yeah, I've got arms, I'm going to use them now, like,
Yeah, exactly.
like
I'm just like,
conducting an orchestra, man.
yeah, exactly. I'm just
That's,
like, look, like there's nothing necessarily really that wrong with the dialogue or anything. It's just like
it's just
the
overacting.
way it's not. Yeah, exactly. It's just the way that you're animating yourself in like you're not a police chief. Like it makes more sense for Chris Rock's character to be waving his arms around because it's kind of just the way his character is. He's like, sees himself as a center of attention and everything. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
but
Chris
then
Rock at times he overacts a little bit, but he does it in a Chris Rock way, so it's like he gets away with it. Whereas this is just like you're in a room with Chris Rock, yeah, and he's like the more toned down like character
exactly.
in the room. That's not something's not right there,
Yeah, it's like, you know, I mean, yeah, you have to be somewhat believable as like a chief policeman. Like I guess sometimes they'll like lash out though. I mean, it's not like there's like a shortage of films to like take some inspiration from of like how
Yeah.
those sort of characters would act. But I don't know. It's
Well, anyway,
seriously unprofessional.
her decision is to give Chris Rock a partner, of Detective Shank. So
It's
that's
the first thing I noticed. I was like, oh, okay,
yeah, that's there's a bit of foreshadowing there.
Officer Shank.
Yeah, we get our first Sigma quote, because like Chris Rock's reluctant to take on a partner,
Mm,
and because he can't trust anyone as well, he makes sure he gets that point
yeah.
across. And Officer Shank or Detective Shank, he wants to get on Chris Rock's good side, so he asks him very politely, oh, how'd you take your coffee? And he goes, alone.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Like
I think that's
you really don't get much more like archetypally Sigma than that.
yeah, we
Bit
definitely got
like
that was perfect in all departments, man. That's like a great
yeah,
line.
it just yeah, like I don't know why it calls me back to like, oh, we're all gonna die here. I hope we do.
Yeah.
Just because it's just so
Now,
short and snappy.
yeah. What did you? Okay, so obviously, we cut to the end. Then it turns out Shank is the villain the whole time. And did, I was looking at reviews and stuff. Like I was looking at the response to this film,
Mm.
and a lot of people said they worked it out straight away. How was it with you?
Well, I didn't, to be honest. I kind of had like especially there was one of them, right? I forgot who he was, but there was
Mm.
someone who they kept framing and like taking like there are a lot of
Guy with a
camera shots.
scar on his cheek, I think, right?
Yeah, that
Well, there
and
are a couple
someone
of them,
else,
aren't there?
right?
Yeah.
There's someone else. There are a few people who this like film was like clearly trying to portray as these guys are evil, and then
Yeah.
that because having seen too many Saw films, it's like well that means they're not obviously.
Yeah.
Um, but then that left me with maybe it's the chief of police or it's his partner because that would be shocking, wouldn't it? And then the chief of police
Hmm.
dies. Spoiler alert. And then I'm like, oh well. Yeah, it's either that or his dad, and I don't know, because like the fact his dad went missing for a while, it's like maybe, but yeah, that was about it. And then
For
it was,
me,
it was an,
the
it
thing
was an all right reveal, I think. Still,
I think it really got me, man. And even rewatching it, and even knowing that, it's still like I don't know what it was. Like even though I
I
knew the
think I know
plot
what it
twist,
was. It
I
was
was
the
rewatching it. I was like, yeah, man. I was really because when this is what really surprised me. This film it has surprisingly good rewatch value because I was like, oh, well, actually, I'm following it around. I'm like, yeah, this guy like would have like he just totally fooled me, man. The first time I watched it, it really got me. And then even the second time, obviously I knew it was going to happen, but I was still
oh,
like, wow,
got me
I was
again.
following it and how it really does. This film does a great job of throwing you off because they're kind of doing the same trick they did in Jigsaw, but like they just like times 10 it, so like everyone's basically a suspect. And
Yeah,
every,
that's the whole
and
thing.
and they don't reveal it until the very end, which is in the previous Saw films, generally speaking, you know what's happening because I mean it's a tough one because and with Hoffman for example it reveals him at the end of Saw 4, but it's not like I don't know. You know what's going on, generally speaking. Whereas
Hmm.
this really got me, man. I remember the first time I watched it, I was like, wow, that was
Yeah, he's
like
such a friendly
genuine.
looking guy as
And
well. Like
sorry,
you know, he's such a friendly guy as well. Like
yeah, he's like, and he's so like, you just don't suspect him, even if you want to. You kind of like, I don't know, like
yeah.
and also they kill him off like halfway through
Yeah,
the film,
exactly.
and then
That
you
that's
just
what
go,
really,
it's
yeah,
brilliant.
that's kind of extinguished my idea of him as being like
Yeah, yeah, it really throws you off the scent. This film, which is like very impressive.
hmm. And
Good
I
writing.
think the thing that was probably like the best was like the when he says like a couple of things in this film and then it reframes them later on. It's like,
Yeah,
blows your
really
mind, and
good
I'm like,
lines, man. Yeah, in this scene, he goes
totally
when he
different
just,
meaning
oh
to it.
yeah, I've been waiting for this moment since I was 12.
Yeah,
You're like,
when they saw like,
and
yeah,
then he
because he's
goes,
like going on to him,
yeah, it's your
Chris Rock,
dad,
like,
man.
oh,
He's the reason for all this. He inspired all this, and it's like boom by the end,
yeah,
so
but
good.
it's the fact that Chris Rock like introduced into like this horrific corpse like of the first
Yeah,
victim, and he's like, oh yeah, he's like, oh, I was waiting for this since I was 12, like sarcastically, but then it's like by the end of it, I'm like,
yeah, it's so good, man. Um, So anyway, oh yeah, so yeah, while they're on their way to this crime scene, the scene
yeah,
of the crime,
yeah, they have plenty of
um,
banter.
yeah, Chris Rock's giving him like marriage advice and stuff, and it's like again oddly specific,
Yeah, exactly.
um,
Yeah,
and
going through a
might be
divorce is going
referencing
like
Rihanna here actually now that I think about it, and obviously Chris Rock, his character, what's his character's name?
Zeke. Yeah.
Zeke, yeah. He's like, yeah, I'm going through a divorce. Da, da, da. He like reveals all this stuff, and there's a little bit of like foreshadowing stuff from Thingy as well with Charlie and all that stuff. It's really good.
Hmm.
And then and they're on the way, to the scene of the crime. Then so they check everything out, TV set, all that, blah blah
Yeah.
blah.
Yeah, because they originally think it's like some homeless person, or as
Yeah,
Americans call them, a bum.
yeah.
Like and I mean I thought it was still like an interesting. I mean, they did a lot of like close-ups of like their the gore and the
Mhm.
body parts splayed around. And I don't know about you because you're a bit of a gore guru kind of. I thought they looked pretty realistic to me.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, Saw films don't think have ever really lacked that edge. I mean, in Jigsaw it did a bit, but I think generally speaking, it's more like I'm pretty accepting of like okay, that looks real. It has to be really bad for me to notice that it's not. That's kind of viewer I am. It's got to be really bad, like with CG as well. I very rarely notice bad CG. I just kind of accept it. I don't really notice
Yeah,
unless
me
it's
neither. Yeah.
especially bad. Then I'm like, oh yeah, that's terrible. Someone usually has to point out something to me, and then I notice it before I
Yeah.
just notice it
Yeah.
straight away.
Yeah.
I'm quite a
Um
generous audience member like that.
yeah, kind of. Um
So anyway, they're back at the police station, and
you get a little gift.
yep, Chris Rocky receives a package which has a message, a tape on it from the Spiral Killer, whatever. So they realize it's like, oh, it's a
It's a Jigsaw
Jigsaw in
copycat.
Spiral,
And
right?
we finally get
Copycat.
to see that Jigsaw's upgraded to USB. So,
Well, they did that in Jigsaw.
well, I kind of just don't want to credit the
Just
film. So,
discount that film. Yeah, fair enough.
exactly. Um, but this is the new, the new one,
Yep.
which usurps the old new one, if that makes sense.
Yep. So then they from the clue in this message, they head over to the courthouse and they find a box, like another package, with two items in it, Henry:
Hmm.
a badge and a tongue.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, well,
mm,
pretty gruesome, we'll
pretty,
say.
yep. Um,
And also actually I wanted to point out the thing from the yeah, this is kind of like a throwaway line, but I just thought it was kind of funny anyway when Zeke, puts his he gets the USB, he doesn't put it in his own laptop, he puts it in
oh
like the
yeah,
main one. He's like, so why can't you do it on your own? He's like, I don't want to fuck up my own laptop. Like, it's just
yeah.
company computer, don't care. Let's see if it's got a zip bomb on it. Like,
Yeah, that was quite funny. There's a lot of throwaway lines and stuff, a lot of bits, it drops of humor from Chris. I do appreciate them. I didn't write them all down, but yeah, you have to remind me of them every.
there are some decent, there's some
Yeah,
decent.
some good ones. Yeah,
It's not like,
just hit and miss as always, But yeah,
well,
it's good.
I don't think it ever got like too much. I think
There
personally,
were a
maybe.
couple which were like, ah, right, man, you just like you're mocking it now, man. But But anyway, so they go back to the police station. There's like a whole load of beef there, because everyone
Yeah, you
hates Chris
roast the whole
Rock and he
department.
hates everyone.
Yeah.
But he goes into the bathroom with Angie, and they come out all smiles. So
Yeah, he's now the
no idea
head.
what happened in there.
Yeah, he's
But
the yeah, because he's the lead in the case now.
yeah, so Chris Rock's in charge after that meeting, and yeah, so then they go and Chris Rock and his mate William Shank they go and visit the police officer's widow, and he also sees his ex there at the house. So there's a bit of
Yeah.
that. Nothing really to mention here, I don't think. I mean, they have like interviewing the back garden and stuff. It's like
Mm.
whatever.
Well,
Oh, there is a funny moment though. When Shank he's like he's like bumbling, he's like
yeah, he
oh
tries to pop in and say,
yeah
"Oh yeah, I've got my constellations," but at the same time, Zeke's just been fobbed off by his ex, and he's just like, just get the fuck out, man. Like,
slams the door in his face. It's like yeah,
exactly.
I'll wait outside. Yeah,
Yeah, like, I mean, there's like a billion body cop detective films, but I mean, this isn't even a film, but it reminds me a lot of the relationship between Hank and Connor from Detroit Become Human. Um, for any of you know that
yeah.
little known.
Then we get after this. Chris Rock he goes back to his flat. He goes back to his flat, and
Yeah, a bit of a
there's a
fake
really
out.
cool fake out, man, because
Mm.
like the doors open, he's walking through and stuff, and then boom, Samuel Jackson's in the house. Um, and it's funny when I first watched this film, I've gone through like my whole life kind of not rating Samuel Jackson as an actor at all. I
Mm.
think I used to think he's like really poor. He
You mean
just
as in the
he has
he
no
has the
acting
idea that he
ability. He's
plays
just
the
like
same
just
character a
plays
lot?
himself every film, like every second word's motherfucker. It's like oh, and that makes him a great actor apparently. But this year, before 2022, I'd never seen a Joel Schumacher film. Now I've seen four suddenly. Okay, so obviously both Batman films, Falling Down, and um,
Watchmen.
no, that's Snyder.
Oh man, yeah, that's why.
It's one with Matthew McConaughey. It's really, it's a very average film, but Samuel Jackson's in it, and I was really hesitant at that. I was like, oh great, here we go. But he was great in that film. He's the only good thing about that film. Actually, that film was like so. Oh, I need to remember the name so I can warn people. It's got Sandra Bullock in it. Time to Kill, I think it's called. Yeah, I think it's called Time to Kill. It's got Matthew McConaughey, directed by Joel Schumacher, Sandra Bullock, who is one of the worst actresses I've ever seen, and yeah, Samuel Jackson, who's exceptional in it. So I'm like, okay, now I give him I give him much less of a hard time because I've seen actually he can act. And anyway, so now I was like happy to see him in this film, and he's like doing his thing. What you talking about, Willis? I mean, that miss, that was a miss. But other than that, it was okay.
Yeah, he does a good bit here. Like, I
Yeah,
think that they
father and
bounce
son.
off each other quite well, and it's
Yeah. They sold it for me. I was like, yeah, this is cool.
yeah. For a brief second, I was like, I must have been slow as hell or something. But when he's talking about him being like the landlord, I have a right as a renter, and then I was like, hang on a minute, these two. He is his dad, right? And then he starts saying dad, and so on and so
Yeah,
forth. And I'm like, oh, okay, like,
yeah,
I thought I was like, I'm missing something here, aren't I? And then, you know,
yeah. Yeah, it was cool. It was a cool scene. And then he's like giving him shit. He's like, oh, well, if you weren't such a main character all the time, then you wouldn't have, messed up your job and your marriage and stuff. It's like,
yeah, because and he's like, oh, you're now giving me like, marriage advice and
yeah. So that was, and it's like, oh, we never even had a dinner. You're nodding at me like they're the only two black guys in the mall and stuff. There's like some good camaraderie. I like the chemistry actually. It's like
mm,
I totally bought it. That's why it's such a shock for me too. I was only 17 years apart in age. Like I'm staggered that Chris Rock is 52, 53 in this film. Man, he's like moving around like like in his. Just remember Chris Rock was he just got the slap from Will Smith as well,
I was
didn't he?
hoping that we could go through the whole thing without mentioning that, but yeah.
Yeah, no,
So
I
people
just
talk about
remembered. I
like the
was like,
Thanos
yeah, I was like,
snap.
what did what was he like thing recently? He's like prominent in something. That was it. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And then yeah, it's just that entire thing. It's like, oh, it's probably what half people know Chris Rock for now.
that's the
It's just
thing.
like,
Chris Rock has done so much in his career. He has no real reason to do this. He's just that's why I really appreciate what he did. He's a fan he put a lot of effort into this, and he's come out with a good product. He can hold his head high, and that's like something really cool. Honestly, this isn't what people will know him for, but as fans of the Saw franchise, I really
Hmm.
appreciate what he did here. Actually, and I'm not really, I don't really care for Chris Rock outside. I don't listen to his music or like watch any of his other films, but for what I've seen here, I'm like, respect.
Hmm.
But anyway, so then they go back to the police station. They've got like the evidence boards and
Yeah.
stuff there,
Yeah. The thing,
including
including.
a picture of the late great John Kramer.
Yeah.
So
Specifically from like Saw 5, where they're like sawing his corpse open, minus
yeah,
that bit. But I like to imagine that they have it there on the board just to remind them all that he's actually dead, Like, this can't be him, remember? Like, so they're kind
yeah,
of, it's like reassures the audience we're not going to go through the plot twist being, oh, we've got Tobin Bell in it, but it
yeah.
happened 10 years ago.
Oh,
Like,
they added moisture to the ashes in his urn, and they managed to reconstruct him, whatever. Yeah, man.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, he was in a cryogenic freezing chamber the whole time. Yeah, man.
They stitched him back together or something. They put his soul into like some sort of like RoboCop thing. I don't know.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, here's a bit of trivia for you. I missed this. You probably have to have like a really close eye for this. But
Mhm.
among the Jigsaw crime board set up by Detective Banks was a picture of Obi Tate. You remember him? You remember him? Obi.
I like
Okay.
the name rings a bell, but I can't
Yeah,
remember
I'll
what it
forgive you,
was.
man. I wouldn't have got it either. He's the guy from Saw 2 who ends up in the furnace.
Oh, that guy, the guy who's
Yeah.
like silent the whole time, and he
Yeah, yeah,
actually
yeah,
ratted
yeah.
out on all of them. Oh no,
Yep.
he kidnaps all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's something for you. That was
Well,
interesting. So that makes this canon, obviously. Yeah,
yeah. Well, I
obviously.
mean, Jigsaw existed in this. So it's just
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
he's
I was
dead.
thinking it could have been like Centipede 2 thing, but it's not. Anyway, so then, okay. So anyway, they're doing a bit at the police station. This whole thing about, oh, can I use your phone? It's charging, blah blah blah, all this stuff,
Hmm.
like setting up. Um,
But you don't know it.
yeah, that's the thing. This guy is like Shank. He's so unassuming. He's just
Yeah,
like
he's so
you're like,
kind of
oh.
like yeah. He's really good at flying under the radar. Like
Yeah, because we're Saw fans, man. We know to like look out for every word and everything. Like in Jigsaw, even though the plot twist did get me the first time, it was like there was still moments and lines where you're just like, oh, that's a bit, why would he say
fake.
that? Whatever, it's
Yeah.
like, this guy's like completely like, you don't look twice at him at all.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot of even with Mark Hoffman, it's just the fact they they
Yeah.
cast, a guy who just looks evil. He,
Yeah.
yeah, Detective Shank, despite his name, like he really, you believe him, man. You just think, yeah, he's just getting his phone. He needs to text someone. He's sort of type of guy to not charge his phone at night or something. But
Absolutely. We've all been there. Um, Okay, so then we cut to Samuel Jackson randomly looking like a villain, like leaving his car and entering a warehouse and
yeah,
looking around
exactly.
and all that. So like, oh, okay, that's like you're not trying to manipulate the audience there at all, are you? Um, okay, and then you got a police officer called Finch.
Mm-hmm.
They go to some like
Abandoned warehouse, kind of.
well, first they pop into a shop and he takes the
Oh yeah.
gun from someone and has like a line which no one cares about. It's just
Yeah,
like
so
totally
on
random.
behalf of the police department,
Yeah.
thank you very much for your generosity. I'm like, you literally just committed a crime
Yeah, he
robbing a
just
private okay.
stole from this guy. He's like just trying to make ends meet, man. Like
He's
random.
definitely that guy's
Already got a gun on you. That just made no sense to me, man. This guy just wanted like 15 minutes of fame, whatever. I don't know. I can't. This had a runtime of 1 hour 33. Just make it 1 hour 32 and just delete that scene, man. No one adds absolutely nothing. But anyway,
well, it's to make him look suspicious, because like, I mean,
oh,
there are a lot of candidates in the office for people who could be, I mean, this film does actually succeed in a way at making you at least for 5 seconds for all of them, like think, oh, this could be them, this could be them, this could be them,
hmm.
you know, puts you in Chris
um,
Rock's shoes, so to say.
Yeah, man. So okay, so yeah, so then he takes his gun and he heads over to a warehouse. Um, there's like some guy like sleeping rough in there, and
Yeah,
it's not. It's like you get a fake out there. There's a pig mask, and it's like, oh, and
but it's
then
not
an
someone
actual.
lying there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
and
was
then
gonna say
actual.
like if they had like the Saul sort of follower like on the floor and he gets up to take him out, he'd definitely be dead
Yeah.
immediately.
Okay, and then obviously he gets actually kidnapped by the actual
Yeah,
pig mask guy.
yeah, because he's like he takes a call and he's like, oh yeah, I need could you call me back, like I kind of need a hand here, and then he's just like not looking around at all. He's like, I thought he was a policeman in a you know
Hmm.
darkened warehouse. You probably want to look around, right?
Yeah, man.
Watch your
And
back.
then obviously he wakes up in the finger trap.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
obviously
not
he's
like
kind of
not like a
split in
Chinese
two.
finger trap.
Sorry.
Not like a Chinese finger trap. So on, you like
Well,
I
yeah.
don't know if anyone ever used that on you in primary school or whatever, but
Well, these are Chinese finger traps, right?
well, yeah. I mean, they're not the same. They're not the same thing. Like it's just like to rip all of them off, right?
Well, yeah, true.
Slice
But
them.
yeah, this scene is split into two, but we'll do the whole finger trap thing now.
Mm.
So this is a really interesting saw trap. I must admit, this is like really out of the box kind of stuff here. So it turns out this guy is in this trap because he shot some kid in the back, like when he was only supposed to arrest him.
Yeah, because the
Um,
guy like flipped him off. Basically, that was it. That's his
yeah,
crime.
right.
How insecure as a cop do you have to be to just shoot
Yeah.
someone for putting the middle finger up at you? Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They should have just ripped his. They should have. You know what this trap should have been? They should have wrapped all his fingers up except the middle ones. They're the only
yeah,
ones left. So
exactly.
he's just
Just to
doing that to
remind them.
himself all the time.
But then again, that would, yeah,
But
I
yeah.
don't know. Actually, come to think of it, how would, in this case, I just realized that how would the jigsaw of this film know a lot of this? Like, he'd have had to witness that, right? Or maybe it's on his police file or something. But then someone else would have seen it. Maybe it's on his police cam, body cam. I don't know if he had them. We'll just assume he
Um.
got it from like archived like body cam evidence or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because yeah, there was tape on the. It was from the police car recording the whole thing, so he
Yeah, of
saw it
course.
in the
Actually,
back.
oh, I'm
And the
dumb.
guy got done for it, I think, or something like that. It wasn't. It was just a cover-up job, but then he found it. So yeah,
Yeah, only
yeah.
someone
It
inside the
worked
force
out.
could find that.
It checks out. Better than like John Kramer's nephew or neighbours, man, whatever,
Yeah,
like
like he had like
his milkman, whatever,
yeah, exactly the guy who was like standing up in a car, like he
Yeah.
just supposedly saw that. I don't know.
John Kramer's barber, man, whatever.
I don't know.
Um so yeah. Um so anyway, so the finger trap, this guy's got like Chinese finger traps on each of his thing.
Mm,
And they're pulling him forwards. He has to bite down on the appliance to like make it, which is cool. You've got that function there,
mm.
and he's sat in a tank of water, which is going to get electrocuted if he doesn't do it quick enough. So there's a lot going on there.
Yeah,
And it's an interesting trap. And you can see like it's like ripping his. Because I was thinking like as it started, I was thinking, nah, how's that going to work? It would rip his arms out of his sockets or whatever.
no.
But no, because they've got the bar in the way, and then it does like.
Each of them, yeah.
Yeah, that's painful, man. That's a really hard track. And obviously, it's a funny one though because he's got to bite down on the thing, and then he wants to scream in pain. But
Hmm.
would you scream in pain, or I think if you're like in a
You'd
lot of
probably
pain,
just be like
you bite
groaning and
down
shit.
even more, right? It would kind of help bite
I don't
down.
know.
I don't
Well,
know.
either way, one gripe I kind of have with this is like
Mm.
he's not like Jeff who sits there for 10 years and then waits like
Yeah, yeah,
for there to be 5 seconds left, then he starts doing something.
yeah.
He more or less almost immediately started and tried, man. Like and he had most of the things ripped off by the end. There was no way, like whoever did this did not give him like nearly enough time
That's
to
true.
actually do it. Like,
Yeah, that's true.
give him, I don't know, 30 seconds to think it through, and then like I don't know. This like he gave him 90 seconds to do the whole thing, like I don't know. And or
Yeah,
make
yeah.
this like thing rip his fingers off faster or something. I don't know. It achieves the same effect, but
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, it's. Yeah, I mean, I think the trap itself and the lighting for this one is like there's red and blue around him. I don't know if that's
Mm,
meant to symbolize like police lights or anything, but
maybe.
it was really like interesting trap. Out of the box. That's like like you say. I mean, this is the ninth Saw film. I mean, if you even count eight in terms of the like half-assed traps in there,
Yeah.
but not only are they like not only are these traps like original, but they all have like some kind of meaning attached, right? Because the tongue's a difficult one to do as well, much like the teeth. Teeth are like quite hard ones to do because it's in your mouth. You can't get a camera in there, right?
Hmm.
And a tongue, it's like so they've done well to do that, and obviously lying and stuff. That's like obviously the connotations there,
Mm.
and the finger like pulled the trigger, right? So it's like okay, now it's like I appreciate the creativity there. Um,
Mm.
so anyway, Chris Rock he has a nice old chat with Shank, and then he goes and goes yeah he goes back to his place and
Yeah,
picks
isn't there
up.
like
Oh, what
a
is he
gift
says to
for him?
Shank? That's at the crime scene, isn't it? He's like, yeah, good job, man. And it's like. And that you actually that sold it to me. I was like, even the second time, I'm just like, what's that? Such a good job of throwing you off. You're just like, yeah, you really buy into this
Yeah,
guy's
because
like
he's like,
character.
yeah, later man, like he's like, you know,
Yeah,
he's like, he could, yeah, he's like, he gets the audience as his friend
yeah,
kind of.
definitely. He's like, oh, what's his son's name? Oh, Charlie. Like, oh, cool. It's like you really buy it, man. It's so good.
Mm.
But anyway, so then Chris Rocky goes to have dinner with his old man. And the delivery guy's outside, so he like takes the order off him, and then his dad's not at home, so it's like, oh,
Yeah,
okay, that's weird.
yeah, but I've got to say though, I mean,
Yeah.
for first time, that's a pretty tense scene. Him going in because like you already had the fake out in the last one. Like it
Yeah.
might be, you think, oh, it might be like the same kind of fake out, but it's not like a fake out. It's actually someone going to try and shoot him or something like that. I don't know. I just quite liked the him walking around in the dark for like 30 seconds, but
Yeah, it was good, man. And then oh yeah, and then we get Samuel Jackson flashback when he's like the boss at the police office at the police station, and then it's like oh, and then you got the journalist coming up like oh, trying to ask him questions and stuff, and then he's like slams the door in his face, and he's like oh, I'm sorry, like your face is trespassing on my property, and that was quite funny.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, like all they had to do was to supposedly de-age him in this flashback, just give him a mustache.
Yeah, literally. It worked to be fair,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
fair enough. Yeah, just give him a moustache.
Yeah,
Um,
and all Chris Rock had to do is wear like his cop hat backwards.
yeah, literally, man.
That maybe that's a Saw 3D homage, maybe.
Yeah, 100%, man. Yeah, that was funny. So yeah, okay, and then so after that, flashbacks over. Chris Rock, he's back in the police station the next morning,
Yeah,
presumably.
because they just keep giving him gifts, man. Like,
Yep,
yeah, I don't know why. I
like
think it
Christmas
was at this
presents.
point that they finally. Oh no, it might have been a later one. They just don't consider these might be just package bombs, like
Yeah, yeah, no,
Batman
not
style
not
or
yet.
something like
They're
that.
not at that stage yet. He gets delivered another tape. This one's got the puppet on it, so it doesn't have Billy the puppet, but they did have some kind of puppet there. So it's like
Yeah,
one
big
of the
puppet.
strings and pulls up his hand and fires a gun. A bit of
Yeah.
foreshadowing there.
Remember, guys, he's on
Yeah,
strings.
but you know
But it
what? I
says Billy the
forgot
puppet.
about. I forgot about that. This has. It's not just one or two things that drops in there. It's like literally, like even the most random shit actually ties in at the end. Even the puppet like thing, and you're just like, I
Yeah.
forgot about that element. For example, rewatching it, the value's great there, man.
Yeah, and this
Um,
thing, I really wonder how they actually write these. Like, do they go like, do they say this person is Jigsaw and then they move backwards like that, or like, I can't imagine how you'd actually kind of construct something like this. Like,
oh,
I mean, to be fair, it definitely wasn't done in one evening. So,
yeah, yeah.
but even so, like for all the previous ones, they had maybe 6 months to a year maximum to get all this thought out. I mean, and also filmed, edited, so on, marketed, released.
Mhm. Yeah, man.
Quite impressive.
Um, yep. So then. So yeah, it's the puppet tape, and it tells him to go to this crime scene, and it's
Mm.
oh yeah, you get another great fake out. He's like goes up to the car, opens the door, pig falls out, And then he finds another box which has a badge in it and some fingers.
Yeah.
So
Oh, I
yeah,
wonder who these could belong to.
yeah. And then we get a flashback, of course, of this guy Finch, who's like, it's like back in the day again, like they just de-aged Chris Rock, like you say, with the baseball cap,
Hmm.
and obviously he's like calling for backup, and then Finch is like, yeah, fuck this guy, like
Yeah,
to
he's literally like probably like within. You could probably hear him not even on the radio, like IRL, like
yeah.
across.
And Chris Rock ends up getting shot, and then his old man comes along, Samuel Jackson. And he's like, he beats the shit out of Finch, man. He's like, he's going, man. It's like, no, this. I know it's Samuel Jackson, but this wouldn't happen, This guy's like threatening to kill police officers. I was like, yeah, no, no, no. Like, then
Yeah,
like
that's
beating
true. I
them
was
up in
like,
front of everyone like that.
maybe I
I'm
don't know.
not
Maybe
sure
that
that
was
would
done
happen.
intentionally to kind of make you think, oh well, his dad has probable cause. He could be,
Oh, I mean,
Jigsaw.
yeah, that definitely contributed towards that, but it's just like I was also like, yeah, that wouldn't happen.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, the thing is as well, like being unstable is not conducive to being like an appropriate like Jigsaw, like
Yeah,
even like Amanda, for example. But you know,
yeah. But anyway, that was you got a bit of backstory there, and then it's like, oh yeah, and then someone's like, oh yeah, your dad's like basically a suspect, whatever.
yeah, and he
Um,
starts fighting him as well. Like father,
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
son.
that's right. Um, and then yeah, and so then
Yeah,
Chris Rock he gets this. Oh yeah, this is cool. So
yeah.
Chris Rock he
He
go
screams in his
him,
car.
yeah, him and Shank they go
He's
to
got a
like
nice
some.
car, by the way. Just saying.
Oh yeah, very nice. They rock up at some drug dealer's place, and this guy's got like some like paint bucket system, whatever. So like Chris Rock goes and like pretends to be like a crackhead, and like yeah, wants some drugs, and then he basically puts like a paint bomb inside this bucket, and then which detonates in this guy's face. And so then they like burst up the stairs, bust in the flat, and they just like smash this guy into a glass table, breaks his leg. They're like,
There's a bone protruding.
yeah, they're like, yeah, torturing him, like spilling the alcohol on it and then like
Yeah, it's,
smashing it and
oh,
shit.
yeah, yeah, and also it's the thing I noticed as well. Like his,
Grim, man.
yeah, yeah, Detective Shank. He's like looking back. He's like looking. He's like, mate, you're more fucked up than I am.
Yeah.
Like I mean, he looks like so innocent there. He's like, like,
Yeah.
oh, is he a dirty cop? Like, yeah. But then later on, you realize like, damn, even Jigsaw's horrified by this guy in a way. And
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like Chris Rock here, yeah, his character is kind of like I don't think he'd actually do something like this. It's kind of a bit far, like you know,
Mm,
you just broken this man's leg to the point of a bone protruding, and now you're kind
mm,
of literally torturing it, man.
mm.
Like
Interesting.
I don't know,
Maybe.
like
Um, yeah, so anyway, after that, they have a lead to go and meet up with. They go to a church and they meet up with a chap called Pete, um, who's like, he's been in prison for 9 years because Chris Rock sort of like grasped on him.
yeah, for
Um,
shooting a witness.
Yep, shooting a witness. Yeah, we get this flashback of Pete, like, yeah, like the most obvious lie in the world, man. He's like shoots
Yeah,
the guy, and then he's
exactly.
like, yeah, the witness shot me. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. The
I
witness
was
pulled a
like,
gun on me,
yeah,
and it's like,
totally, man.
and I like Chris Rock's kind of reaction to that. He's like, "Why would the witness pull a gun on you, man?
Yeah,
Like,
it's like
just
the most obvious lie I've ever seen, man. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, so that was yeah, so you get that
yeah.
flashback.
He can't even like
Um,
prove it, I guess, but
yeah. So yeah, so that happens. Then Chris Rock is back at the police station, and this time, yeah, he gets delivered like a shoebox-sized present. So they do decide, oh yeah, this might be a bomb this
this could
time.
be one. Yeah, yeah. They have to shake it around a bit. Like, what's the weight of this thing? You're like, is it just another tape, or is it, bargaining for something more? Who knows?
Yep, and inside this box this time, oh, this is grim, man. This is
Yeah,
just like a load of skin. Pretty, very, very grim, man. What else is in there? There's like, oh yeah, he sees the Charlie tattoo.
yeah. Which leads him to believe that it is, in fact, the skin of his former partner.
Shank himself.
Yeah,
And
Shank got shanked.
and there was also like a jar in there, like a little jar, which like led them to go onto this like butcher
Yeah,
slaughterhouse.
yeah, because it was Yeah, because it was the label. Well, it was a little paint jar, and it had the label which was in the photo behind him and his dad, which
Oh,
is now a butcher's, I think.
wow.
And I was like, that also led me as well to think, well, like maybe
Yeah, yeah,
this is
yeah.
his dad, because who else would know that unless, anyway.
And that's the thing as well. This is what's clever about the way they use Samuel Jackson in this film because he's a huge name, right? So like his presence in the film goes noticed when he's not on screen. And he's been off screen for a long time now. The last we saw
Hmm.
him was just some dodgy shot of him like going
Yeah,
some.
yeah, because he'd gone off the radar as well. Like,
Yeah, so that's how they very cleverly used his presence. Like by not having him in there, you're wondering where is he, and it
hmm,
just adds into that suspicion. Very cleverly done. Um,
yeah.
so then,
Oh man, I also forgot to mention,
yeah.
when he's talking to Pete, uh, I would like to say this kind of semi Sigma line where as he's going off, like they have a bit of like they don't leave on good terms.
Oh yeah,
He says to him, God loves you, Zeke, and then he says not as much. No, he says more than you.
yeah, man, that was a good one. Um, so then, yeah,
And he gets
so they
this
go,
something horrific.
yeah, they head over to the butcher shop. Yeah, man, they find a skinned body like hanging up there. Disgusting, man.
Yeah,
Um,
and like you get shots of it as well,
mm,
like someone skinning like in
fingers
plenty
and
of
oh
different
yeah,
ways.
man.
The bone, like you see a skull, man, like oh
They had to cut that back a lot as well. That was like the film board people. They only let them show frames of it, so they didn't get like the highest rating. They just wanted the one below. So
yeah,
yeah, that was like the censored version, man.
yeah, exactly. Like,
And
yeah,
the thing that did get me though was this. This is the first time I was kind of, oh, this is a bit dodgy. Was like the fact you don't see the trap itself because I'm always looking out for the trap. That's what the
yeah,
whole
that's
series
true.
is about. And you hear the tape, but then it's just like it says, oh, hello William, whatever, and then it's like, oh, there's no like trap, like that's a bit annoying.
Hmm.
So unfortunately, we won't be able to rank it among the traps. But
Yeah, what was that even supposed to be? Like, yeah, peel off your skin and then get out.
yeah, yeah, because you're racist. Yeah, it's like probably would be the
Yeah.
racist trap or
You
whatever.
and your online friends are all racist. You don't
Yeah,
have any real ones.
yeah. So now you got to here's an orange peeler, here's a potato peeler. You know what
Yeah,
to do.
yeah. This is
Um,
yeah, he would say something like this is the instrument for your salvation or something. This is
yeah.
like like a carrot peeler or something. Anyway,
Yes, that was pretty grim.
slightly suspect, but I didn't think of it.
Yep, I noticed it, but I noticed it, and I was like wondering why is that, but yeah, I never
Yes,
thought
it.
to think what it turned out to be.
Hmm.
So anyway, then we cut to Angie. She's at the police station, and she decides to go down to the evidence room.
Yeah, well, they also all like it's like yeah, all cops, get to this spot. One of our boys just been attacked.
Yeah,
And then
right.
they
So yeah,
find the
they
guy
hear on the
who's like,
radio
oh, has been
some one of
slashed a
them,
couple
yeah, one of
times.
them's been stabbed or something, right?
Yeah,
Um, yeah, Chris Rock he shows up there and then he realizes from the clue he got in the tape,
hmm.
it's like oh no, it's, Angie's next,
Yeah.
whatever.
What? Yeah. While you're going out looking for more bodies, I'll take your head off or something. Like
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
go for your head.
yeah,
Which is like it's like the thing where you have to listen very carefully to what
yeah, yeah.
Jigsaw says, and
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, man.
dual meanings and so on and so forth, which is very nice to see in this.
Yeah, very in keeping with the spirit of Saul there. Um, so yeah, he realized from the clue, so he's like rushing down to go and save Angie, and she winds up in the Wax Trap 2.0, as I
Yeah, that's
call it,
exactly that's the same way I sort of
2.0. So,
this is yeah,
but
not
this is like yeah, very twisted
pretty
trap.
unfair.
Yeah, because I didn't really get it. Because yeah, she's laying down and oh, this is grim, man.
It
And
is.
yeah, because even on the tape, he's like, yeah, you won't walk away, but you can survive. I was like, oh man, that's dark, isn't it? Because she has
Yeah,
to sever her spinal column. But then, what about that would trigger the trap to stop? Like,
I
and it
don't know.
would undo her it wouldn't undo her buckles anyway, and it wouldn't give her a chance. This is pretty tough track to get
Yeah.
get out
But
of, and then you're punished by like being
yeah.
paralyzed basically.
But symbolically speaking, I think it's very good because it would literally leave her spineless as the police chief.
Yeah, good point.
Think about it. Well,
Yeah,
doesn't literally rip out her spine, but
yeah, yeah,
they
yeah.
probably were like, they were probably after that meeting with them like, oh, can we skin a person? They're like, yeah, I can't rip out their spine either. Sorry.
Yeah, very brutal traps though, man. Like severing the spinal column. So, and then her face, she's being basically waterboarded with like like
Hot
tar,
wax. Yeah.
basically. Yeah, like this.
Oh,
It's not just wax. It's like this black wax. It's like tar. It's like it's
yeah.
disgusting. It's like it's hot as well. It's like boiling. Like it's really messed up.
Yeah. But
Um.
also as well, the way that she actually ended up like that. Yeah, she like yeah went down to the evidence room,
Mhm,
the cold cases basically,
mhm,
and then she sees the guy in the pig mask, and
mhm.
like it's really a bold move to go in the police station itself and take out the head of police while drawing everyone else away, and
Yeah.
like I mean I assume they didn't have a gun because you didn't see it, like did he switch out her clip or something for like a smoke bomb from the looks? But he like chucks a few smoke grenades around the room or something, or
Yeah,
tear
something like
gas.
that.
You know,
Something like that.
very well
But yeah.
executed.
So then, obviously Chris Rocky's like trying to get down there, and he does, but it's just
Too
too
late.
late.
You get some
And
horrific effects. Like
yeah,
he's like, yeah, he's like, he hasn't really settled in with him the fact that she's actually dead. Like he's trying to peel it away, and it's just like
yeah,
disgusting, man. Like it's
yeah.
like like you can see like surface level skin. There's like loads of it missing and so on. It's just like and there's like bits flaking off.
Yeah, man. And he's trying to give us CPR and stuff, man. It's too late. And the shot as he walks out of that room is like very.
Yeah, that was amazing, man.
This is cool, man.
Yeah.
Um, and you can see in his face, he's just like questioning everything. He's like completely lost. He hasn't got any idea
Yeah,
what's
because
next.
he's like, yeah, he's walking out. He's seen too much. Everyone else is like rushing back the other way. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah, it's a good shot.
very good shot.
And then he goes back upstairs, and then some guy, he's just like, yeah, what about your old man? It's like saw him, and they have like bit of handbags there as well. And and then Chris Rock is like, he goes after Pete. He's like, you know, goes looking for him, and then Chris Rock himself gets kidnapped. So
Yeah,
yeah, that happens. Um, so then. Samuel Jackson, he's we finally catch up with him. He's basically where we left him. He's walking through this warehouse, following the spiral doors,
mm.
and then he sees like the writing, want to play a game, motherfucker, whatever he says.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
He's like, oh, I will play all game. Basically,
yeah,
he's not afraid.
that's right. And he finds a puppet as well, and then he's kidnapped as well. So that
Mhm.
happens. Okay, now this scene is like it'd be interesting to hear your take on this. Chris Rock, he wakes up, he wakes up handcuffed to a pipe, and you've got like the old school like Saw music there, and he's got a hacksaw next to him.
Yeah,
So, do you like this, or was it like a bit too cringe? Or
I don't know really because I thought it was. I mean, the fake out itself, the fact that you think, oh, he's gonna have to saw part of his body off, but he actually doesn't. And the
yeah,
thing is, as well, like the difference in size of the chain that was around Dr. Gordon's leg versus this
yeah,
thing. This looks like you bought. It looks like the handcuffs you buy, like like
yeah,
out like a like a I don't
yeah,
know what
yeah,
sort of
yeah. Get
costume
with
party you
kids, or
could go
whatever.
into,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
like
yeah.
they're like tiny, man. They're like
Yeah, like bracelets, man. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like I don't know, man. Like them like loom bands are stronger than that, but
Maybe
or
they were trying to avoid some kind of like negative connotations there, with like having like black guy chained up to like just maybe that would invoke the wrong
yeah,
kind of
maybe I
message,
don't know really,
perhaps.
but
I
I don't
don't
know.
know, but either way,
That's
it
a
was a
good
cool
point, but
fake
still.
out, man. But it's kind of annoying, like how easily he gets out of it. It's just got like
Yeah, true.
a
It's just, oh,
hairpin
you
there.
just
That's it.
pick a
Like,
lock
oh,
and Bob's your uncle. They might have been, yeah, they could
it
have
was
done
just
something.
there to, yeah, as a fake out, but also to pay strong tribute as well. And like,
But
I
it's
don't know, it was cool. It was cool. I guess it was cool. It was alright.
well, yeah, as well. His test was more like it wasn't really necessarily for him to, go through anything physical himself. It's just to make sure he stays there for a bit, to scare him, I guess, with the saw, and then also to be like, all right, now you can, stand up and do whatever you gotta do.
Yeah, I don't think it
It's
didn't make a difference at all. They could have just let him wake up and move around. Like it wouldn't have made any
yeah.
difference. So
Well, they had to shoehorn it in,
yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
wasn't terrible, I
No,
don't
no,
think.
I'll let him off. I think it was cool
It
just for
was
the music. So he
okay.
just like, oh, it was just a bit cheap how he got out of it so easily, but whatever. It's just like a hairpin there, man. Like, what did Samuel Jackson leave that? Like from his from his bunch of him, he carries them at all
No,
times.
he could have pulled
Doubt
like
it.
a. He could have put like a, I don't know which one it is, like Rico from like, the penguins from Madagascar has got like a paperclip constantly in his mouth, so he just uses that instead.
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't make
Actually,
sense for it.
what, that could have been if you really look deep into it. That's kind of evidence that it's not Samuel Jackson that's the killer, because it's like, why would he have a hairpin?
Hmm,
Do you know
true
what
that. Well, to
I
be
mean?
fair, you can just get a hairpin from anywhere, so, you
Well,
know.
yeah. Well, anyway, just happens to have one right next to him as he wakes up in this horrible. If only Gordon had a hairpin, man. Where was his hairpin?
Yeah,
Where was
exactly.
where was Adam's hairpin? Well, anyway, he wakes up, he gets out, and then he sees this guy who's like tied up in front, well, like on a
It's,
chair,
it's
on a
Pete,
step
yeah.
ladder, whatever. Yeah, and it's good old Pete. He's there.
Well,
And
good old
still
Pete,
fake out
let's
because
say.
Pete's like, "Oh, what are you doing, man? Wasn't putting me in prison enough, Like now you're doing this. This is sick, man." So it's like, well, now you're like, okay, now Chris Rock's the bad guy, whatever. It's like, not that he's the bad. We know he's not, but it's still like, oh, it
Yeah,
could
it kind of
really
reverses
could
the
be anyone at this
situation.
stage.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
yeah, this is actually quite interesting because this is they almost kind of like blends the styles of traps really because a lot of the Saw films would exclusively have either traps where is essentially you're not in the trap, you're judging the person and you decide whether or not
Mm,
they live or die, especially with Jeff, for example. And then
mm.
there's the ones where you yourself, your life is at stake. But in this they kind of have both of them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Even though this is kind of the only one where it's him judging someone else, I guess, but still, I think it's kind of
Mm.
cool. They managed to somehow get both of those in one film.
Yeah, so this is like the glass trap. This trap was a bit strange. I mean, again, I'm not going to knock it because it's creative and it's original, and I have to give it its space, But the dynamics of it were a bit strange. Like the key, like being in the bin and stuff, and then he like
Yeah,
picks up and like carries it around, and
shields it. Yeah. The
yeah, and
thing
it's
is that
just
I
like
just
that's tough. That's a really tough one. And this guy, I mean, the guy shot a witness, but he did his time, man. He did like 9 years,
yeah
and he's reformed. It's not like he hadn't learned his lesson, and
yeah
then he just like gets shredded by this broken glass.
yeah. Well,
That's a painful death as well, man.
but I
And it's
think
not in his hands.
if this line is from Pete, this is like some like four-dimensional like chess thing,
Hmm.
because at some point, I think when Chris Rock comes up to him in the church, because he's doing his sit around, saying, oh, you shouldn't beat your wife when you're drunk and so on. And then Chris Rock's like things like, oh yeah, I'm not like, I'm not an alkie basically, and he says, well, even an empty bottle can kill someone, and the whole thing is,
Yeah,
empty bottles on conveyor belts that turn into the same glass that kills him.
yeah, you're right. Damn.
Then again, come to think of it, that's very convenient because his partner wasn't around to hear that, but
Yeah,
maybe it's
that's cool.
like,
I didn't even notice that. That's a great, great
yeah, it
shot.
only just dawned on me now, and I was like,
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
nice. But yeah, so obviously, yeah,
He
Chris Rock
fumbles it.
fails to save the guy. And he does, which is a
Yeah.
bit harsh, man. I think this guy, like, you know, didn't deserve to. And he did,
Yeah,
could,
he was right. He shouldn't have served any time.
yeah,
Hashtag cover
um,
your own back.
yeah, that was a bit of a weird. And the guy's reformed as well. That's the worst, because you get like repeat offenders and stuff. Well, this guy actually was like,
Hmm.
on the face of it, appeared to be like trying to, sort his life out and stuff. But there you go.
That's
Okay,
what
so
you do.
then we're coming towards the end now because Chris Rock finds Shank and he like just unravels his master plan.
Yeah, he does his villain origin story.
Mansplaining, yeah. This is very like now. not only do you have the plot twist where he's the bad guy, even if you worked that out, there's like the double plot twist where he's the son of the witness that was shot, and that's like bang.
Yeah, man.
Even if you worked out that he was the villain, you certainly didn't know that because they literally didn't show you. But that was really cool, man. I was like, wow.
That
And
was
it's like,
amazing.
yeah, and then it's like, and he was texting with the phone, because I was thinking, yeah, how did those texts come to like the boss, Angie and stuff? And it's like, oh wow, he did that.
Yeah,
Um,
it's just
and then he
well,
turns around and he goes, yeah, Chris Rock, man, like he offers to be partners, and it's like,
mhm.
and then it's very interesting because you almost have like a very very like um. I don't want to disrespect these guys, but like a very lesser version of like Hoffman and Kramer, when they meet, and he's like,
Yeah,
this system's corrupt, you can
yeah,
help
because
me bring about actual justice, it's like, oh,
yeah, because none of them are really like yeah, it's kind of toned down in a way. I mean, it's still like serious and stuff, but none of them are like like proper archetypal Sigma males. So
yeah,
it's not the same. And also to be fair, you had Tobin Bell, has been in all of them up until now. So and
yeah.
and then also Mark Hoffman, he's in a lot of them. Yeah, this is their first time. So
Yeah, yeah, true, true. And yeah, it was enough for me to at least remind me of that kind of dynamic. So I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool, and I like the whole like dynamic behind that, where it's like, yeah, Chris Rock, he's like the straight cop, he doesn't trust anyone, he knows like true justice and stuff, and this guy's trying to like offer him like, yeah, he'll be
hmm,
part of it, but then he's blackmailing him with his dad,
yeah,
it's like, yeah,
because like, oh, well, I have to test you more because you saved
yeah.
mine. I'm gonna help you save yours. And
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah, and he does make an interesting point because he's like, yeah, oh, you actually tried to save that Pete guy, man, like whatever. So it's like
yeah.
you need to be further tested. So
It's like, well, you did give me the option, so.
yeah, so then they go and find Samuel Jackson, and he is in the puppet trap.
Hmm.
Now this is like a really like spooky trap, man.
Hmm.
I mean, it's just pretty horrific, and just this
Yeah,
guy's
he's
like
just all up. He's
suspended
just
with all these
surrounded.
cords and wires and stuff, man. Like, and then the blood being taken out of it's like this is like really
Horrific, man.
horrific stuff, man. Like
Yeah,
just
and
the
it's all
imagery.
going into the the glass mason jars kind of, and then
Mhm.
like I was like, oh, this reminds me of a certain track from Saw 5, and then he even effectively references it by saying, do you know the did you know, biology fun
Oh yeah.
fact, you have 1.5 gallons of blood in you, convert that into liters and you get, I don't know, and this is how much you need to live, so on.
Hmm.
So you know similar to that trap from Saw 5, which
Yeah, from that aspect. So, I mean, the imagery for this one is just like
it's very different
horrific,
though.
man. It's like this old man, and he's just like bang, like suspended in midair, kind of like he's on a cobweb or something, But I mean, he's like a puppet as well, and he's there, and he's just like all this stuff, and it's like, yeah, this guy is like, for Article 8, that's his crime. That's
Mhm.
why he's there. He made Article 8, and it's like
Yeah,
this
they
is
start abusing their power,
right, right, right.
and
And it was like, yeah, well, it was less crime but dirtier cops. So it was
yeah,
like,
and this this is the part where it reframes all of his
yeah,
previous comments. Like,
yeah,
I joined this department because of your dad. Been
yeah,
dreaming about this since I was 12 years old when his dad got shot, and I was like,
yeah. Hits different, man. You're like,
wow,
wow,
yeah,
so
that was
good.
actually like so good.
Yep, yep. And then
Um,
you got them, and then he calls up the police, and they're outside, and they're coming up, and then
yeah, this is the problem for me because
go on.
well, you go on to say how it plays out essentially, but like I've just got a major gripe with that, with the fact he calls the cops.
Oh yeah, how come?
Well, because essentially he sentences this guy to death because all he's got to do is basically shoot him or shoot the target.
Hmm.
You know, whose side are you really on?
Yeah.
And because he's only got one bullet in the revolver, and he starts
Hmm.
taking the piss out of his dad, being like, "Oh well, he tried to shoot me, and then I had
Yeah.
to waste another four or whatever. So you've only got one left. So he had to shoot that the target in order to free his dad, right?
Hmm.
Which he does, but then the cops pull up,
Hmm.
and he's put Shanker's put like this thing across the door. If they cut through it, then his dad gets suspended anyway, and then dies. Like he did what he asked for. So
Yeah, good point.
and then he just runs off
Yeah,
anyway.
you're
And
right.
it's like, oh, thanks. And like this wouldn't be a problem if the cops weren't, on their way. Again, it's the thing. This guy does not like, fair time limits.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I didn't think of that. Yeah, because you're so caught. I was so caught up in the moment. I'm just like, yeah, I never considered that. Yeah, you're right, man. That is a
Yeah,
bit.
because actually, basically every single one of these traps is like no one has enough time to get out of them, apart from maybe the guy in the tongue trap. But like all of them, like there's no way you could have gotten out of them really. Like
Yeah, true.
it's
Yeah,
just too
they're
fast.
pretty raw deal, all of them, man. Um,
But that's what makes them even more horrific, I guess.
True. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We've got to mention so the guy who was skinned was the guy from the tongue trap, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, it can't have been because his bits were everywhere. Like
So who
you
was
got it
that?
from.
Who was the skin body? I thought it was the guy from Skin. Who else? I can't remember.
I don't know. It's
Something.
someone from somewhere, but it was important or something.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't remember.
Maybe
Um,
skin the guy who he broke the leg off. Who knows?
I think it was the Purse Snatcher. Maybe I'm not sure, man. Either way, this film ends with like a fight scene between Chris Rock and Shank, and you've got the music as well, like
Yeah.
proper Saw theme going on. It was weird because what was going on during this. It was cool to have the Saw music back, but then it was kind of like, yeah, they're having a fist fight during it. It's like that's not
Yeah,
really
it's not really.
typical. But then it's like the build up and the trap and stuff, and then obviously the last thing you expect is like they cut through the thing and then like Samuel Jackson's suspended in the air and then the puppet thing, the gun comes up and they all
Yeah,
like blast him to shit. Um,
yeah.
and
That's the
then
thing.
although the weird bit for me is Chris Rock, he's there, he's watching this all unfold, and then the guy like just and they've all got like guns pointing at Chris Rock and Samuel Jackson like no one's
Yeah,
business.
no one's seen this guy.
Yeah, and then this guy stands up and he like waves them or blows
Yeah,
them
it's
a
like
kiss,
bye
like
bye.
yeah, no one aims at him.
This is the
So
thing that aggravated me a
racist
bit because
cop.
it's like these guys are like SWAT. They're supposed to check everywhere basically as fast as
Yeah,
they can. They're going to like a hot zone basically.
yeah,
But then they don't bother to check the whole room, and then they're like, "Oh, this guy's clearly dangling from like 50 cords. Maybe he's not doing this against his will." You know,
yeah.
clearly they haven't seen The Dark Knight. But anyway,
Yeah, man.
like,
Yeah, these police are pretty thick. I mean, the same ones that baited out Zeke at the beginning. So it's like,
yeah,
all right.
exactly. Why would they? I don't know why they suspect the chief anyway. Like, in this case, I mean, yeah, he has a shotgun, but oh well.
Yeah, but it's yeah, the puppet motion was like very interesting, like very interesting, like twist there kind of thing. I was like, oh, that was cool.
That was cool.
Um,
Yeah, and it goes back. You get a flashback of the pig puppet as well, and also the thing is as well. It doesn't end with the guy shutting the door, does it? Like,
no, there's
I
no
mean, he does
game
that
over.
a couple
Like, he
times,
just
but not
disappears in
in
his
the end.
lift, and that's
Yeah, yeah. Can you imagine if he had to like shut the lift door like as he was going down? It's just like as he's going down, the frame is closed, and he's like, "Hang on a minute," and then that's
yeah.
it.
And you guys, and what's it going down to? Where all the squad cars are down now? Like,
Well, no, no. Think about it. Really, he could just actually. Then again, they all think he's dead. If they see him
yeah,
driving around the car, they'll be like, "Hang on a minute."
yeah.
Yeah.
And the guy wins basically as well. He's won because everyone that he wanted to get rid of has got rid of. Now, and then we obviously the credits roll and there's like this sword rap which is like made my ears bleed. I hope that wasn't Chris Rock, but I don't think it was. But either way, it's just I really didn't need to hear that. But would you now? Here's a question for you. Saw X is coming out next year, right? It's been
Mhm.
announced. Would you see a continuation of this story?
Well, I would say yes, but the only problem is what could be gone on from this because, well, I guess he's got his ex to lose and his kids, so.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I'd like and Tobin Bell's going to be in it, so there's that.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. How would that work then? Unless that might be like a complete whole reboot of itself. Because if
Well,
Tobin
no,
Bell's
if
in
it
it, then
continues
I
from
don't think
this,
they
then it
can
wouldn't
use
be.
this.
No, if it continues, this is canon, right? So
Yeah, exactly. But then what were they using for? Like another flashback.
yeah, just
This is the
flashback.
problem, really. Like, I think, Jigsaw proved that, just because you have Tobin Bell, it's not necessarily, guaranteed success
Yeah,
or even necessarily going to be, good. And even in Saw 3D, like they just like had him there for the sake of it.
yeah, that's
I
true.
kind of think, this film proved that you don't necessarily need him. And while it's really nice, or soothing to hear his voice on the tape, rather than like some computer generated thing. It's just I think Saw does like for example in Saw 3, they actually killed him.
Mhm.
Then you need to move on really, and that's
That's what
kind of
this
what
film
made
did
Saw.
well.
Yeah, that's kind of what made like the Saw series really good as well. The fact that they don't drag on stuff. Not always is the case, but they're not afraid to do kind of like crazy things. For example, like Amanda like dies in Saw 3 as well. So does Jigsaw, and you think, oh, what could happen next? They recruit Hoffman.
Mhm.
Eventually he dies, but
Well,
Um,
does he?
well, yeah, that's true. What if they brought back Mark
Oh,
Hoffman?
nah, don't gas me, man. That would be insane.
That would. I mean, if they have, I don't know, Tobin Bell in a flashback, whatever. But if they bring back Mark Hoffman,
And Dr. Gordon.
and yeah, yeah, man, bring it on.
Nah, that
Chris
can't.
Rock, if you can
That's.
hear us,
Ah.
throw these ideas up if they allow you in.
Let me and Henry like co-direct the Saw 10, man.
Well, we can like shoot it in this basement I'm in, which is totally real.
Yeah, man. Oh, mate, that'd be yeah, yeah. For me, like, I'm very encouraged by this film. I mean, it wasn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but
It's just after watching Jigsaw, it's like so much
yeah,
better.
yeah. Well, there's that, but this is pretty much, I think, the most you can ask from a Saw kind of spin-off kind of film. It's not the original canon. I mean, it is canon, but it's like it's not from the original series.
Hmm.
So it's like this is kind of pretty good like effort, I must say. I mean,
Hmm.
it's hard to make something that's going to live up to the standard of like you saw 4, 5, 6,
Yeah.
whatever. But like,
Yeah, and again, it was a very nice film to actually look at. Like
because it's a brand new
visually.
cast. You don't have any reoccurring. You don't have any familiar faces. Nothing. They basically started from scratch.
Hmm.
So it's very. They weren't leaning on Tobin Bell or anything like that, or
Hmm.
even Billy the Puppet. They just went and did their own direction. The people behind the film, you had Bousman was back, so that was good. You can
Hmm.
tell the influence there. Um, I think it was a very good effort, and
Yeah, I think yeah, they had a lot of
I'd
fruit
happily see
for it.
a sequel to this because Saw 7, we didn't, Hoffman and Gordon, their ending's ambiguous.
Hmm.
So's Logan. Not that I want to know anything more about him,
Yeah,
but they
true.
just like that made
Did
me
they just
laugh. They
kill
just
him off
completely abandoned that. They're just like, yeah, that was shit. We're not going to come back to them.
Yeah.
But he didn't die, and then this guy at the end of this, Chris Rock and Shank, they're still about. So I'm not particularly interested in seeing Shank again, but it would be interesting to see if like
Yeah.
where they can
What
go
if
with it.
imagine if like they all get put in a pit, right? Like Dr. Gorn is saving Mark Hoffman for a later date, and he puts all three of them in one, you know, X and wannabe Jigsaws like all got to fight each other on the way out or something.
Do you know what'd be really cool if I mean I don't know how you'd go about doing this, but like if you had Tobin Bell in like a Hannibal Lecter esque kind of role where he's like in prison and he's like giving out advice or he's like speaking with someone that's like goes on to I don't know there'd be some kind of
No,
dialogue.
well, what they could do is, they could have they could do the Batman and Robin solution where they made Alfred into like some computer AI. They just did that with John Kramer in his spare time, so that way they don't have to use flashbacks. They can have him in the series forever through
Yeah.
AI generated like John Kramer speeches. Just the thought.
Yeah. Oh man, it's gonna be. I don't know what AJ could do with it, but it's gonna be interesting.
I
I'm looking
think I
forward.
think
I just hope. I don't want them to throw this away. I think this has potential to go somewhere interesting. So, I mean, but Chris Rock's got his commitments. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
I don't know. Well, I will say I have a good feeling about Saw X. Well, because it has a lot of stuff that it can use still,
Mhm.
and the fact that the thing that gives me a good idea is the fact, well, a good feeling is they've picked a good title. I think just Saw X is like a
Well,
great
yeah, as long as
title.
they don't change it. Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
that's the subject.
Saw X in 3D.
Yeah, back to Roman numerals. Yeah, Saw X. Well, anyway, we'll go ahead and rank the elements from this film now, I reckon, Henry. Yeah?
Mhm.
To round off the series until Saw X. So, we're going to start off with ranking the traps. So,
As in, which one is the most horrific?
yeah, the worst trap. So, the current rankings: number one, the rack trap from Saw 3. Number two, the acid trap from Saw 6. Number three, the rapist trap from Saw 4. Number four, the fishhook trap from Saw 7. Number five, the pendulum trap from Saw 5. Number six, the wax trap from Saw 1. Number seven, the Venus fly trap from Saw 2. And number eight, the spiral trap from Jigsaw. Yeah. So, we don't have that many traps in this film, but they're
Hmm.
all pretty bad. So, like, we're going to have to choose which one
I
we'd
think I've
least
already
want to
got
be.
mine. For
So, we got the
me,
tongue trap, the finger trap, the wax
yeah,
trap 2.0, the glass trap, and the puppet trap. So, what do you reckon?
the wax trap too, like easily. Like
Yeah.
getting your fingers ripped off in the finger trap is also horrific, but yeah, at least you're not paralyzed from the neck down, even if you survive. That is like, and also you,
Yeah.
regardless of how you could be like literally the sev your next speed run world champion, man. You're getting like half your face burned off regardless.
Yeah. And I think as well, you think about even if you die, like quick death sort of thing. That's always like at least you can have a quick death. So that's what the tongue trap offers. Um, Finger trap as well to an extent. You get like electrocuted, so like that's
Mm.
quick death. The
Yeah,
glass trap, the wax trap, yeah, they're pretty slow deaths.
we've got a wax trap there already, but
What's the puppet trap? Yeah, he just gets shot or bled to death. But I think being bled to death isn't even like that
yeah,
painful, right? It's like
well, don't
because
apply
apparently
now.
when you give a pint of blood, people donate blood, you get like you almost get a little high off it. So yeah, apparently. So
Okay then, if you say so.
yeah, that's what I heard. So I
Yeah,
think
my mate who
he
has
just
like
like, and
20
Samuel Jackson
kidneys
does it.
said
He's
so.
like just a bit like he's a bit out of it, man. So it's not really the worst death, actually. I mean, yeah, it's not really. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I would probably take
not
that
proper
most
trap.
out of anything.
Yeah, I'd take that.
Yeah.
The glass trap and the wax trap. Yeah, glass traps.
The glass
Glass trap,
trap
painful, man. But I think yeah, the wax trap's the worst. Has to be. Because
has
best case scenario from glass trap, you got like scars on your back pretty much, and you're all right. The
Yeah, and then you get
wax
to
trap,
tell
you are
everyone about it at
not
a
winning from
party.
there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, but if you get all the scars, you could tell everyone about it, be like, yeah, insert overused Heath Ledger quote here, but anyway.
Yeah. The wax trap, yeah, I think I agree with you. That's really bad because there's no way you're winning out of that. I mean, you either,
Mm.
yeah, like you said it already.
Yeah.
So we're going to rank that amongst the current rankings, Henry. We've got the original wax trap at number 6. We've got the pendulum trap number 5. The Venus fly trap number 7. Fish hook trap number 4.
You know what? I am willing, I
Who could
think
even go higher?
I'm willing to put that above the rapist trap. I mean, that best case scenario, you lose your eyes. This, I would rather lose my eyes than lose my entire ability to move. And also, my face is probably half burned off anyway.
Plus that, yeah. But the rapist trap, what was that? Yeah, he gets his eyes dug out and then
Yeah, limbs
his
ripped
limbs
off.
ripped off.
Yeah, at least it's probably a fast death.
Yeah, you know what? I think I'm gonna go with you on that one. We're gonna put the wax trap 2.0 at number 3.
Prestigious
Impressive,
spot.
impressive.
It's on
Yeah,
the, it's on
man.
the podium.
Okay, so wax trap 2.0 from Saw 9. Okay, spiral. I'll put spiral so it's less confusing.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay, so now it's number 1, rack trap, number 2, acid trap, number 3, wax trap 2.0, number 4, rapist trap. I did not expect that to shift down, but there we are.
Hmm.
Respect. Now, okay, this is going to be interesting. The best ending. So we have the ending from Saw 1 as number 1, the ending from Saw 7, number 2. Should we recap as well what the endings are? Because
Yeah,
I
you
get
might as well for
confused.
the final episode.
So Saw 7 is Dr. Gordon coming back, which is awesome. Bathroom and all that. End of Saw 6 is number 3, and that's when Hoffman escapes the bear trap.
Yeah. And he's
Um,
also Yeah, is that the one where he wipes out the police department as well? That's when
Yeah,
they figure out he's
yeah,
Jigsaw. Yeah.
and I think it's also the one with William. Yeah, and there's like the plot twist
Yeah,
with
that
that
is
as well.
good. That is good.
That's
Yeah, and
great.
also the guy who played Roderick.
Yeah. Number four is the ending from Saw 4, which is Hoffman being the villain.
Yeah, and Saw 3 was happening at the same
Yeah.
time. You get a good
Number
game over at the end of that.
number five, yeah, number five, yeah, that's why it got high up. Yeah. Number five is the ending from Saw 2, which is when we find out that it's pre-recorded. Number six is the ending from Saw 5, which is
Strom
the
getting
fight
crushed
between
between
Hoffman
ankles.
and what's the guy's name? Hop.
Strom.
Sorry,
Peter Strom
Strum. That's right.
gets crushed. And while like while
Yeah,
Hoffman's
that's
just
really cool.
looking at him like
Yeah. Number seven is the ending from Saw 3, which is like Jeff.
yeah, Jeff gets to kill Jigsaw, which is bullshit.
Yeah. And number eight is the ending from Jigsaw, which sucks ass.
Yeah.
That's where we're putting the ending from Spiral.
Well, I think this was a good twist. I mean,
Very good. I
very
like the
good,
way it
but it's
links
just
up.
the end pissed me off, man. Like,
What about it?
it's just the fact that the
Oh, yeah.
guy, Chris Rock's character, he did what he asked for,
Yeah.
and yet this guy didn't say anything. He was just like, "All right, well, the police coming here, you did it too slow anyway, but so I'm gonna stand in this lift and not give you any further instructions,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
wave bye bye while the SWAT don't look at me."
I think in terms of the plot twist itself, it was still very good. It's a
Yeah,
strong plot twist. That's very, very strong plot twist. I think though, overall, it would probably go sixth, no, seventh for me. So below Saw 5, but above Saw 3.
below Saw 5.
Yeah, which is like
Nah,
the fight between Hoffman and Strom and
yeah, but that's barely even a fight
Crusher.
though. That's the thing.
Yeah, it's
Like,
cool though,
it
man.
is very like the fact that like the actual the crushing trap it is cool.
And you've got the whole like
Framing, yeah. To be
yeah,
fair, there's a
yeah,
whole bit
exactly.
where he frames him as well.
Yeah.
I'll put that above. Yeah. So yeah. So this one goes below Saw 5,
Yeah, below Saw 5 and above Saw 3.
but
That's
still
that's
very
fair.
good. You know,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
all of the endings are good minus Spiral. Sorry, not
Yeah,
Spiral. Jigsaw.
yeah, exactly. Okay, Sigma quote number one. Don't talk to me about money. I've got money. It's spelled principle. From Saw 6. Number two, the voicemail from Saw 2. Number three, the only problem killing you, Jill, I can only do it once. From Saw 7. Number four, John Kramer turning down the hoe in Saw 4.
Your
Number
beautiful
five,
girl
Sigma
got
versus Sigma, Hoffman versus Kramer in Saw
Mm.
5. Number six, Amanda, challenging the
Yeah.
nurse to kill her in Saw 3. Number seven, apathetic, but mostly pathetic from Saw 1. And then number eight, Scream or Not from Jigsaw.
Yeah, that's your choice.
So bad, man.
Well,
So
I
which
think
moment are we nominating from this? I think it's pretty
yeah, I
obvious.
think it's pretty obvious. Like, how do you
Okay.
like your coffee? Alone.
Alone.
How do you drink your coffee? Alone. So I would just put that is it fifth, just below Kramer turning down the hoe.
Oh, you put it above Hoffman versus Kramer.
Yeah, because that's not like there's no like quote from that specifically. It's
Yeah,
like
that's true.
and the thing is dumb as well. He's like, oh, I'm gonna shoot you. No, I'm not. Got you. It's like no, I never understood that. It's
Oh,
like
you're just like pissing on the best scene in the
it
franchise.
could, I know,
Okay.
but it could have been
I know
so
what you mean,
much
though.
cooler. Like if it was him fighting his way out, like like the knife trap or something like. I mean, obviously you don't want to screw up his face that much by then, but they could have just done something more with it. Just have it be like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know what you
more of
mean.
a
For
trap
Sigma
there.
moment, this is
Like
like, yeah, archetype, like, yeah. How do you like your coffee? Alone. Okay. I think that's fair. That goes fifth. So that's below the turning down the hoe, but above Kramer versus Hoffman. I think the thing about Kramer versus Hoffman, though, is because it's not just the scene, it's just like the confrontation between, like, the
it has good
two,
music in
like,
it too.
main Sigmas in, like, the whole franchise, man. That's why it's there, you know?
Yeah. Well,
Um,
yeah, and to be fair, preceding that as well, you had John Kramer in his full suit in the lift.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it's fair to put this fifth.
Yeah,
This is a
and
great moment as well. It's just
yeah,
like
and yeah, and also prior to that, even the thing you sent me, like the way even he manages to sneak into Sigma's stance when as he gets in the lift.
Oh yeah, man.
Anyway, but that's not part of the
But I
scene,
think it still goes
unfortunately.
sick. But and to be fair, now we can say this is the Saw franchise is like some strong, strong Sigma male characters, moments, quotes. You know, it's
Mm.
like a lot of literally me going on here as well, man. It's like
Yeah, exactly.
very, very like strong series for
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
isn't it?
Puts a big smile on your face, remembering all that. You know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like Tommy Shelby's favorite horror franchise for sure,
Yeah,
man.
exactly. Well,
Um, And then finally, Henry, we're going to rank the films. So the current
mm,
ranking is number one, Saw 5, number two, Saw 6, number three, Saw 4, number four, Saw, number five, Saw 3, number six, Saw 2, number seven, Saw 7, number eight, Jigsaw.
nice.
So
Well done on that, I will say.
thanks, yeah.
It's like,
Finally,
yeah, this
it's
is what I've been
over.
waiting for.
Now, where are we going to put Spiral from the
Hmm.
Book of Saw?
This is tough. So from the bottom, there's Spiral, then Saw 3D, aka Saw 7.
Yep,
What's above Saw 7 again? Is it
Saw 2.
Saw 2?
I think this is going to have to go seventh.
Yeah, it's definitely better than it's definitely better than Saw 7, but not as good as
Yeah.
it's very close to Saw 2, I think. But Saw 2 had its whole there are a lot of good things. Like I did shit on it a bit, but actually probably more than I should have. But it's still,
Oh
John
yeah, man!
Kramer.
You got Donnie Wahlberg in there versus John Kramer. It's really cool.
Yeah, but
Um,
there's the whole thing of him beating the shit out of John Kramer, and it's just like,
yeah, true, but still, it's all part of the plan, you know.
yeah, true. And you get the the voicemail to his son after he's pissed
Yeah,
off talking to him.
but I think that's a fair ranking. If we put it seventh there, so that means it goes below above Saw 3D, below Saw 2. I think from Saw 2 above, those are all like very close together. Into I mean, they're all great. Spiral's great, but in its own unique way. It's not
Yeah,
like you know.
this is by
Saw
no means
7 is
just because it's
also
near the
good.
bottom, it doesn't mean it's bad.
Yeah, Saw 7 is also good, but it's also like it's the most flawed of like the original count, and then Jigsaw's
Yeah,
just like crap, you know. So
yeah.
just
I'm
there we
just
go.
very glad that Spiral is good, I can say.
Exactly. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. We've come to the end of our second series of franchise. We've done Batman, and now we've done Saw. So, what do you think, Henry? How do you feel?
Well, knowing what lies ahead, I'm very happy. But at the same time, I really enjoyed going through all the Saw films because at one point I did mean to revisit them, and I feel this was like a very good way of doing it. And
Hmm.
it I only really remember them much for the gore. I didn't. I mean, I remember they had like decent plots, but I'm glad we kind of got to uncover and kind of repeal the stereotype of oh, Saw has bad plots, apart from in Jigsaw. But
Yeah,
this was very good to go through. I mean, I'm not a gore enthusiast, but I am a sucker for good plots. Well, and very interconnected things with rewatch value. A lot of detective work, you could say, and a lot of Sigma moments.
exactly. Yeah,
And this
I've really
delivers.
enjoyed this series a lot. I must say. I mean, Saw films for me have always, like I said, a guilty pleasure. Um, and almost like I don't want to call them comfort films, but
Yeah,
that
come up
sounds
with
really
someone like
psychotic.
you, man. Yeah.
But it's certainly my favorite horror franchise by a long stretch. And I for sure will watch them again. I will watch all of these films again, apart from Jigsaw. Never watch that shit again. But like other than that, even Spiral, I'll definitely it's this is kind of film you can relax. You can half watch it kind of thing, and
Yeah.
you'll enjoy. It's like it's definitely got good value. Like it's got rewatch value. They all do, and it's been really fun actually. I've been really enjoyed like going back on them and like being able to talk about something that isn't so represented. Everyone talks about there's like but Saw is a franchise of thing everyone knows about, everyone's seen them, and it's like it's just it's a classic, and I'm glad we've been able to
Hmm.
give them their flowers.
Hopefully, we'll
So
have
yeah,
more to give next year. But
yep. And yeah, looking forward to Saw X, of course. We'll review that as well when the time comes. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, next week you're going to find out what our new series is. But until then, game on!